Hello everyone, so today I'm gonna talk about the ancient species or the new pet system or companion system. I'm gonna first talk about the obtention of the different rewards linked to this system, and then I'm gonna talk about how the functionality really affects your game and what you have to know around it. Just to keep in mind that maybe some informations won't be extremely accurate because the system is still new, and so I won't be extremely precise on some things because it's still a new thing that I need to experiment with and learn to really master. And maybe I will add some informations in the comments or in the descriptions later on. Okay, so first for the obtention, the mod where you get all the resources is called the Tower of Challenge. It's a new game mode that is introduced in this update. You can find it on the classic screen where you can find the game modes. You can enter it this way and you will need a resource called Tower of Challenge Key. This Tower of Challenge Key you get from a certain amount of keys, so it's 60. Every 60 key you get one Tower of Challenge Key, and also you can drop them in farming keys the normal way. So the drop rate seems to be close of epic equipment, so it's quite rare, but some people will be really lucky and have some of them. But you can get them this way. You will need them to enter the game mode. The game mode consists of different areas, so for now we only have 3. You will unlock every area depending on your TOT level, I think. And the two last, they are not available right now. So one area is gonna determine is gonna change two things. First, the difficulty of the bosses you will fight, and then the rewards. So first, I'm gonna explain how it works because it works the same for all areas. So one area is gonna offer you 5 bosses that you need to do in a certain period of time. So they will give you 1 minute 30 to kill all 5 bosses. And so you need to beat each bosses to get rewards, meaning that if you beat one boss, you still gonna get some rewards, but the more bosses you kill, the more rewards you get, basically. What you have to keep in mind is that the bosses are more and more difficult on one stage, and also on each stage, the starting level of the boss is higher, and so the bosses are gonna get harder and harder this way. But the functionment is the same. It keeps the same reward system and everything. The only thing that changes are the bosses themselves, their levels, and also the rewards. For the rewards, you will have two types of rewards. You will have incubator and element chest. I will describe later on what those two really do. But basically, the incubator gives you the ancient species, the pets themselves, while the chest gives you elements that are specific buffs, and you will gonna see this later on when I describe all the functionality. So each area has a specific difficulty, and you will probably be stuck at a specific boss depending on the area. So depending on your progression, you will maybe do all 5 rounds of the first area, but struggle to do 2 or 3 rounds for the second one. So my recommendation for now is to maybe only do the harder area if you can clear at least 3 bosses, but otherwise only clear one that you can do entirely, because the higher rewards are really interesting, but it's still random, meaning that you won't be guaranteed to get higher rewards and you will still get common stuff. But you will have way more rewards if you clear all 5 bosses. So it's interesting to do the difficult areas, but it's also really important to clear all 5 bosses. So it's kind of a middle ground that's gonna depend on your progression. I'm gonna quickly show you a run. For the teams, it's similar to admin. You're gonna play DPS, single target DPS. But there is something that is important to keep in mind is that you have to find a good balance between damage and sustain and everything, because you're gonna take a lot of damage, but you still need to kill all the bosses in a specific time lapse. And so that makes the mod quite interesting, is that if you only bring damage, you're gonna die really easily. But if you only bring heals and everything, you're gonna survive but lose with the time. So you can see the time limit there on the top. You will have all 5 bosses going one following the last. And you will keep all the same timing, but also you're gonna keep the units that are gonna die. So if you lose one unit, this unit is gonna remain dead for the entire duration of the challenge, basically. And so that's why you have to find an important balance between damage and heals, because you don't want to lose too much units really fast, but also you don't want to only bring heals and deal no damage. Okay, so now more details into really how it works and what bonus each pet can give. You can check those in the Ancient Species tab that you can find there, and you will be able to check this page. There is a lot of information and it's quite detailed, so a lot of the information I will say in the video you can find already in game, but I will still explain it, maybe to help some people. You have 7 different companions, pets, and they all give different things. So how it works is that you can equip one pet per team. So on the edit team, you have one little button where you can select one Ancient Species, and it will give a bonus active during the entire fight. And so you can only equip one, but you're gonna see that it's very specific. And so you want to maybe change pets around for different content. So how it works is that each pet is gonna give different type of bonus. First, they're gonna have the equip effect. That is gonna depend first on the type of pet. Every pet is gonna give different bonus, but also on the rarity, because each rarity is gonna give one line of bonuses. So the first one, the gray one, is gonna be specific. The first 3 ones are gonna be specific, and the 2 last are gonna be the same for everyone, and we're gonna talk about it a bit later. So for the first 3 one, you have the common one that gives the first line, the green one uncommon that gives the second line, the rare one, the blue one that gives the third line, the fourth line you get with the epic, the purple one, and the 5th line you get with the legendary one, the yellow one. And so to get each rarity, you either get the incubator from the same rarity, meaning that if you have a green incubator, you're gonna get green pets. Same if you have a blue incubator. But you can also evolve your pets with this screen, where you can fuse 4 pets for the higher rarity. And so it's gonna cost a lot of gold, but you can this way get guaranteed better pets with time. You're not gonna choose which pets you're gonna get in incubators, but you can choose which one you invest the most, fusing and everything. So this is the first thing with the bonuses there that you're gonna unlock with the rarity of the pet. Then there is something called the collection effect. Also important to keep in mind that you can scroll. So maybe a lot of people don't know this, but you can scroll and get more information on this screen. It's the same for another one later. You have a collection effect that is basically the same for ignition weapon. The more pets you have, the more bonuses you get, basically. Every pet gives a different bonus, and you can see all the collection effects on the right. So this is quite easy to understand, but it's some stats. It's good to get, and it's only work for so it's collection effect. It's only work one time, meaning that if you have it one time, it's gonna give the collection effect, even if you lose the pet later on. Meaning that if you fuse 4 green and you don't have any green anymore, you're still gonna get the collection effect. This one I don't have anymore, but I still get the collection effect, for example. So then you have the intimacy. The intimacy is a level system. And the way it works is that it's gonna be upgraded with the little art icon you can see there. It's gonna cost this resource, Ancient Shard, and you can get Ancient Shard by freeing your pet. So when you release your pet, you're gonna lose your pet, but in trade-off you're gonna get some rewards. And so you're gonna get these resources, this resource this way, and another one that I will talk a bit later on. You will, like this, increase the intimacy effect of the pet, and it will give specific faction-specific stats. But all the pets have a different faction, but the stats are the same, meaning that it's always HP, crit, resist, defense, and attack. But it's the faction that changes, and there is 2 pets for each faction. Only Freedom Dreamer only has 1 pet. And also it's interesting to see that the Thug pet, the PvP pet is Thug, but that's another topic. So the intimacy is a bit of a secondary thing, and I think you shouldn't invest too much on the little pets. Because they are not too important to keep, and we will see that the epic and the legendary bonuses are really important. So this way you can free and release pets to get this resource, and also the resource is common for everyone, and so you can release certain type of pets to improve other types. So that's good to know. Maybe some pets you're gonna have a ton and you can sacrifice, and maybe some pets you won't be playing also. So that's for the intimacy. And then I'm gonna talk about the 2 things, the sockets. So the sockets is gonna be available at Epic and Legendaries. At Epic you're gonna have 1 socket, and at Legendary you're gonna have 2 sockets. In the socket you can equip elements, and so elements is basically the other thing that you get, and the element is the thing that you unlock in the chest on the game mode, and elements are gonna give specific buffs, but you choose them. So basically you can see each buffs. You need to scroll once again, so it's very weird, but you need to scroll this way, and so you can see that it gives a specific element. So damage boost to regular boss monster, for example. It gives it to specific faction and specific position as well. And so this one gives Great Family, Wave Controller, damage boost, and so it's a specific bonus you're gonna add above all the existing ones, and it's gonna be applied to your team when you equip the pet. This system also share similar things with ignition weapons, meaning that you can fuse them for a chance to get the higher rarity. You will also get sometimes the same rarity, meaning you won't always get the upgraded one, but you have a chance to get the upgraded one. So this way it's a way to roll maybe least interesting bonuses and maybe upgrade some others. So this thing is very specific because you also have character specific bonuses. All of this I won't go too much into details because once again we are at the very beginning of the feature, A lot of the things are quite easy to understand, I think, meaning that you're gonna basically play the bonuses that you use depending on your progression. I can't backseat everyone on this one, but you're gonna see that the pets are very specific, are for very specific content first, and so you're gonna play specific elements on specific pets anyway, and so you can this way really tailor your progression. And so maybe have pets for specific characters you really play on certain modes and on certain type of enemies to really improve them this way. So I'm gonna go into detail on every bonus. So you have the first pet that gonna give ignition bonus. So it's gonna give ignition damage boost and ignition time increase. This one I don't like a lot because ignition is very specific, but and all your characters are not gonna use ignition, but it can be interesting in some game mode, maybe like administrator. You have the second one that gives damage boost to regular boss monster, and when you use a Shinshu skill, you have also for 5 seconds a bonus in damages. So that thing is a bit weird because they typed out a regular boss monster, and I can't say for sure what that means. For me, it obviously indicates all the bosses where you have the boss tag above them, and maybe regular mean that it's ignore things like maybe admin. Maybe admin is not considered a regular boss monster, and this one will give maybe an interest to this one. Because if this one works for admin, this one is really way weaker. So I think maybe that's what it means. If I have an accurate information for this, I will add it in the description or in the comments. I will maybe try to ask the support of the game for this. So this one is really interesting for damage, obviously, but it's only on bosses. But it's really good for damage. This one is for PvP, so it increases the HP in PvP. And also, if you go below a certain threshold, you're gonna recover HP. So obviously, I'm not gonna go into details about how you should use this because it's very obvious. The activate one time effect is so you don't go below 30%, get ill, and it's going on forever. So it's gonna only work one time. You're gonna activate the threshold once, and even if you recover HP above 30%, which gonna happen since you're healing with the effect, the second time you're gonna go below the threshold, it's not gonna activate again. Then you have the one that reduces the incoming damage from regular monsters, so not bosses. This one is pretty clear for me. It's all characters that are not bosses, and maybe regular also means not PvP. I'm not sure about this, but that's kind of the way I see it, is that maybe PvP is really specific to PvP and this one doesn't apply to PvP. It will be really logic for me, or else this one is probably more interesting than the PvP one, because this one is flat HP and HP is not that good, and this one is damage resist, and damage resist is really good. So that's how I see it. Once again, if I have more accurate information, I will add this, but for me that's how I see it is now. Then for this one gives defense, crit damage resist, and defense. So this time it's not specific, so it works for every content in the game. And so it's a defensive stats, so it's really good, and some crit damage resist. This one is very generic based on defense, but for me it can be really good. And this one can be really good for a lot of content. So this one can seem maybe a bit underwhelming, but I think it's not that bad. And base defense is quite interesting actually. So it will be useful for some content maybe where other pets are not active, and so I think this one can be specific, but it's not that uninteresting for me. And defense is more interesting than HP, but obviously this one is way more HP, so it's gonna be better in PvP. But defense is interesting, and maybe in some content when you really need crit damage resist, it can be good. And then the last one is gonna work on bosses, but it's gonna add damage resist. This time they removed the regular keyword, so maybe this is specifically what I was saying, is that there are different type of bosses, and admin is really the obvious thing for me, is that this one is damage reduction, and so it doesn't overlap with the ignition boost, while this one really overlaps with the ignition damage boost for admin, for example. So this one works for boss content, so everything where the boss tag is above the character, but also for things like admin and everything, every time you really fight a boss monster. And you have also an effect where below a certain threshold you recover HP. So I find it funny that they say PvE, because what it means is that it's not gonna only works on bosses, it's gonna work everywhere. Same for this one, that works everywhere, even though the two effects are from regular characters. So that's to keep in mind, that this line works every time, not only against bosses. And then the sockets, it's the same thing for every pet. One last little feature to take into account is this one. I won't be able to really describe it in details because I don't have the resources yet. But basically what it does is that it allows you to buff a certain pet for a certain duration. I don't have the specifics for this, once again, because I don't tried it yet. But you can craft these resources with the resources you get from releasing your pets. So you can see this in the craft in the craft system. So you can craft these things with these resources, and you will use those to improve your pet with this little button, I think. And it's gonna last a certain duration. Once again, I don't have the specifics, but maybe it can be really interesting for specific content, maybe for a big PvP day on reset or something like this, or maybe on big bosses in certain content, or for TOT maybe you will need bonus damage reduction and everything. So for all the specific cases where you will gonna want to use this, I can't tell you too much right now. Once again, it's very early into the new functionality, and it was mostly to just cover the basics. But I hope you will understand a bit more the system for this. I hope you really enjoyed the game, and don't forget, if you're watching this video on release, don't forget to summon for white. He's a really, really, really important character. It's gonna help you a ton, and see you.